right, welcome back, knife nerds and everyday care people. It's the Big Canucker coming at you, and today I want to have a look at one of my favorite knives of all time. It is the Spyderco Southard. This is a knife designed by a gentleman by the name of Brad Southard, who specializes in high-performance folder designs, and he did an absolutely fantastic one with this. I do believe this is Spyderco's first flipper, and if it is, you know what? If it isn't, leave me a comment. And leave me what it was in the comments. But I believe that this was their first flipping design, and they couldn't have picked a finer example than this Spyderco Southard. It is an absolutely fantastic knife. Let's have a quick look at some size comparisons. We've got the Manix 2XL. As you can see here, it's a little bit smaller than that. And of course, we've got the big daddy of EDC land. We've got the paramilitary 2. So you can see it's just a smidge smaller than that. As well as, oops. Sorry about that. To hurt your ears, folks. And then, of course, we've got the Dragonfly 2. So you can see that it is on the smaller side, but I don't want to say that. You know, it is a fine, effective blade, and it is just a smidge under 8 inches long. So, but it does have a 3.5-inch blade, or so close to a 3.5-inch blade, and I do believe 3.5 inches is your perfect EDC blade size. It's not too big, not too small. It does all your EDC jobs that you can have it do at that size. Now, oops. We've also got here, let's go over the specs here real quick. So we've got 7.96 inches, so just sub 8 inches, just a smidge. Your braid length is 3.46, and your cutting edge is 3.462 as well. So it is all cutting edge. Just a smidge here with the sharpening choil. You're going to miss out a little bit, but just stats-wise, they say it's got a 3.5-inch cutting length too as well. Your blade thickness is 0.16 of an inch or 4 millimeters, so you've got some really fine blade stock here too as well. I don't mean fine as in thin, I mean fine as in nice and thick. It'll stand up. And it is also a hollow ground blade too as well, and is really, really thin behind the edge, so it does slice extremely well. I'm not going to say you're going to be able to cut some apple slices without cracking them in this knife, because it does have some thickness at the top. But if you're cutting through some rope, or you're cutting through some cardboard, some paper, it goes through extremely, extremely well. Now it says here it's kind of a drop point, but it's almost like a hybrid drop point, kind of a sheep's foot design. It's just a really, really funky blade. For all the weird blade shapes that are out there, this is one of them, but it is a good looking knife all the way around. I mean, I love the nice curve on that. It fills your hand really, really well. The blade finish on this is kind of that polished, stone washed. It's on the Sleesh Bowie. That's and I do believe the Positron has this too as well. But this is my absolute favorite blade finish. It's kind of a mirrored stone wash design. It's unbelievably classy when you see this in in person. Now she's got the CTS 204P steel on it, which is a wicked blade steel. Incredible toughness as well as edge retention. And as you can see the edge, it takes a wicked polish. I do believe this is one of the finest examples of an EDC steel that's out there. It is certainly top 5 in edge holding, edge retention too as well. If you have a look at Cedric and Ada gear channel down there in Australia, Pete has done all sorts of testing, cutting the Sisal rope, and the CTS 204P is definitely a top 5 steel. All right. No, they say the finish is satin, but I don't know if it's a satin finish. It's just a polished. It's almost like a mirror polished stone wash. It's just fantastic. So this particular color here is the brown. You've got 2 titanium slabs. So it is a titanium folder with Reeves integrated lock. And you've got a little bit of G10. So you've got a thick slab, and you've got a thin slab with the G10 on the one side. So it just, you know what, it just works. The ergonomics on this knife are fantastic. It flips open with authority. The lockup here is nice and steady here. Now my lockup here shows it's about 75%, but I'm not worried that this is going to travel over. the Spyderco knives, every single titanium frame lock that I have has held up extremely well, and I've noticed none of them traveling. This particular one here is a flipper and running on ball bearings, and it is extremely smooth, and it flips open with authority, and I never worry about that lockup. I also never worry about lock stick with this too as well. So you've got G10 over travel stop on this side, and you've got one of the only knocks on this knife is this clip. And you know, it's a good looking clip, it's a nice and shiny clip, but that point there, it's almost like a little bit of a gene wrecker. So one of these days, I actually took this clip off and I polished it really, really well. And dumb me, what I should have done is I should have got my Dremel and I should have rounded this out a little bit. Just make it a little bit easier to go into the pocket without stabbing your jeans and giving them a little bit of a tear, because it does get a little bit sharp. A good looking clip. I think it fits the Southard really, really well, but it just happens to grab into my jeans and it drives me bananas. All right, so weight wise, you're looking at about 4.1 ounces. So, you know, very, very light, but still solid. You've got your clip is a right-handed tip-up carry only. There's no option for ambidextrous, so I do apologize, left-handed guys. It is a flipper, and you've also got the ability to use your thumb to flick the spider hole open, but you have a really hard time doing the Spyderco flick because the lock bar seems to be covering most of the spider hole on the other side. And there are certain days where I can grab it and flick it out and give the Spidey flick, but for the most part, I'm using this as just a straight flipper because it does flip out with authority. Now, of course, you've got the lanyard hole. I absolutely love putting lanyards on my knives because I love being able to grab it with my pinky finger and pull it out of my pocket. We've got the couple of standoffs here too as well, 3 standoffs, so it's the flow-through design, so it's easy to clean. And it is extremely tough, extremely capable, extremely classy knife. Now, one of the only knocks on this knife, and I think they've certainly rectified it in the factory, but when these knives were first made, they had a really, really ultra thin copper washer. So inside, your pivot's running on caged ball bearings. And in order to stop that hardened steel ball bearings from running against raw titanium, which will eventually, because titanium is quite a bit softer than the steel, it'll wear a channel inside your titanium. So they put these phosphor bronze washers inside there to prevent that, but they put washers that were entirely too thin. So if you tighten down your pivot, you had a tendency to crimp a groove inside that washer, and it would bend up too as well a little bit. It would bend up, and then the edge of the washer was running against the knife blade and then making it gritty and feel less smooth. So there's a couple of fixes that people out there tried to employ. One was to just take the washers right out of there and run on the titanium, and you know what, your knife will last for 3, 4, 5 years, but it'll eventually run a groove in there. Some other things what people did is they just basically replaced those. Those aren't always easy to find, especially something that's so thin like that. And I guess the other thing that people did, one of the stories I heard is they basically tightened the pivot down as tight as they could get it, and then they flicked the action a whole bunch of times, 2, 3, 4, 500 times, and then they backed it off ever so slightly until they were centered up. Some people did that. Now, what I ended up doing is every time I would take this knife apart to clean everything, I would take the washers and I would flip them over, and then I would tighten it up, and that seemed to have worked for me. I think this knife could be probably a little bit smoother, but you know what? It is still extremely smooth. It still has a great action. It's extremely satisfying to flip open, and it's a great EDC. It's something that you can take to work, and it's also something that you can take to work if you wear a suit and a tie. All right, so now this particular knife here was made in the Taichung, Taiwan. So the fit and finish on it was extremely good. It came out of the box really, really sharp. Had perhaps just too much, a little bit steep of a edge on it, if I remember correctly. I think it was running at about 20 degrees, which is a decent, EDC 20 degrees. But I ended up laying this back here to about 17 degrees. I like to have a little bit thicker of a mirror polished bevel on these knives. I think it looks great, and I think it helps the slicing ability too as well. Now the CTS 204P steel on here, it strops extremely well. So if I go through a whole bunch of cardboard, all I need to do is strop this for about 5 minutes, and it's back to hair whittling. And it holds extreme edge. Now, what would I do here? Would I recommend this knife? Absolutely. This one here has been discontinued, but if you're on the secondary market searching around for a flipper and you see one of these for sale, it is definitely something that you want to put in your collection. It is definitely something that you'd want to own, and it's definitely a recommend. On a scale of 1 to 10, a big Canucker score, I'm going to give this knife probably an 8 out of 10. I think I would give it a 9 out of 10 if it had this ball bearing washer fixed, and I'm docking at 1 point because of this horrible clip design on the end that digs into your pocket. So 8 out of 10 from the Big Canucker is something you definitely want to put in your pocket. All right, well, thanks for stopping by. And if you like what you saw and heard, please like and subscribe. Give me the big thumbs up. I really appreciate it that I've hit over 100 subscribers. I got to say thank you so much, folks. That triple digit. You know what? The air's getting pretty thin up here. I'm just kidding. I see guys like Mr. Shabazz there, Nick Shabazz, with 40,000 subscribers, and all I can do is dream, and all I can do is have some fun, and hope you guys like it and subscribe, because I really appreciate it. So with what's going on out there, please stay safe. If you're sitting at home with nothing to do except watch YouTube knife videos, I hope I helped your day go by a little bit quicker and put a smile on your face, because that's what it's about. All right, so keep yourself safe, keep your stick on the ice, keep the shiny side up, and this is the Big Canucker saying adios.